Hello, everybody. Welcome to Get Lost. We are back. It has been a month, and it's time to jump back in where we left off with Lost Season 3. Last time I had Mr. Miracle breaking off the beginning of this season. Today I am joined by Perry from Perry Comics to discuss the end of Season 3. Perry, thanks for coming, man.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It is freaking John's Comics with Kids. Uh, it's really cool to be like live on your show because I remember watching you like in the beginning when I was starting off on YouTube and stuff like that, and I remember doing my contest video for you and everything. So it's like this is cool to like finally be here, you know?
Well, I think I've been on shows with you several
Yeah,
times. This is your first time on my channel,
on your
though.
channel. Yep.
And we got to get you for the book club here at some point. Absolutely.
Heck
Especially
yeah.
if we get a good DC book at some point here. Maybe Year the Villain or something.
Or deceased, your favorite.
Right? It's already going to be set up as the next comic court. It's going to be me going against Misexplained.
Oh man, let me
Oh,
write that
man.
down.
So we are back. This is the end of season 3. For those that don't follow Lost all that much, this is the sort of classic meme, if you will, the gif of all gifs, the we have to go back moment of Lost. And some of my all time favorite episodes fall into this run. We were joking before we went live that I felt like, and 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 it might just be that the biggest stinkers in this set of whatever 14 episodes or whatever, the biggest stinkers I've always felt like were way underrated and actually really good. So for me, this is like a solid run of episodes. I don't know how you felt rewatching it.
I feel like this was like the grand slam of Lost, where they could have just wrapped up the whole show right now, and I probably would have been happy as a viewer.
Right? It's like this sort of walk into the sunset instead of fading to white or whatever Sopranos
The
did.
Sopranos, everything goes black. You're like, where's my signal?
Instead, they just have Jack screaming at Kate and then
Yeah,
done.
he lost his damn mind.
So, so for those that are jumping in and following us along here, we have started this particular run of episodes with Perry looking at episode 14, which is called Expose. It's the famous Nikki and Paolo episode.
Oh
And then we're
man,
running through to the final episode of the season, Through the Looking Glass, which is actually like, isn't it like a 3 hour or 2 hour deal?
yeah, and the two-parter. So it's the last two episodes. They cut them in half to make them bearable. You know, so people don't like, oh, I'm done with this for tonight.
So in this case, it's a good chunk of episodes, but we're really getting into that time on the show that I loved, where we got the others. Right, at the beginning of this season, we had our characters sort of stuck with the others, captives, and now little by little, we've sort of had a lot more time with the Juliets and the Bens of this group. How do you feel about the others?
I thought it was incredibly clever because when I was first watching Lost, those others I just thought there was like the whole Dharma initiative. Like I thought it was them. I thought it was all right. They have this whole project going on, and then lo and behold, no, it was all like a front. You know, like it was just pretend.
Yeah, well, that sort of reveal of no, it's not just Dharma and the others; it's actually distinct groups, and even within those groups, there's even smaller subsects if you really want to get into it.
Oh yeah.
So, is there a member of the others that you really enjoy watching?
Hmm. I don't know. I felt like this sounds weird. I felt like John Locke was kind of like my ideal. Well, John Locke and Sawyer are the two guys who I've been rooting for the entire time, and so like everybody else on the show, well, except for I can't remember this guy's name, the big guy with all the hair. Um,
Hurley.
Hurley, yeah, and Hurley. Besides those three, everybody else can just like kick the bucket. I'm perfectly fine with it. Those three, to me, carry the entire show.
Oh, that's hysterical. Yeah, I will say that's come up a lot in these breakdowns is the love for Locke and for Sawyer. The appreciation for what those characters brought sort of season to season to the show. And I will agree that those two are probably my my favorites, and Hurley obviously gets a sympathy vote as well. We have Mr. Bueller in the chat. We really appreciate you coming by. I know Bueller's a big Lost fan. He helped kick this series off.
Heck yeah.
And we got Just Rican Rod, your triple threat buddy in the chat.
How's it going, Rod and Bueller?
Thank you for coming by, guys. So let's talk. I want to dive into Nikki and Paolo. I know they are hated among the Lost, fans at the time. When I was watching the show, people hated these characters. And when the people found out they were going to get their own episode, it was like, this is going to be horrible. I hate these people. Why are they on the show? I freaking loved this episode when it originally aired. Expose shows Nikki and Paolo's backstory. And it's very Hitchcockian, like tragedy, thriller episode. Yeah. What did you think of this episode?
Well, I did watch Lost about 5 years ago. I guess when it first came on Netflix, around that time, and I binged the whole thing. Rewatching, like going back and rewatching, trying to keep up with these segments, I kind of feel, well, I have two feelings. One, I don't understand why they were even in the show. and two, that ending of that episode blew my mind away.
Dude, it's so creepy, right?
It was when her eyes open.
Fighters, you have paralysis, and then of course being buried alive, all in one. It was like so nightmarish.
When she was being buried, when they were both being buried, and her eyes opened, like it sent chills down my spinal cord. Because then it cuts to the next frame, and there's like this giant mountain of dirt. It's like there's no way they're getting out of that. It's done.
Yeah, and then even Sawyer pouring the diamonds on top of them. It's like the nail in the coffin, almost literally.
Well, it's kind of like you get what you give. Like they gave out murder, they gave out deceit, they gave out lies,
betrayal.
And, like a lot of cloak and dagger stuff going on for their own benefit, and look how it ends.
And for me, I'm a big Hitchcock fan. I think going to those movies with my dad to watch those Hitchcock movies, those were big in his house, along with like John Ford. This felt like a little Hitchcock episode. It was just really it was just trying to get under your skin. And for me, like, I know they included Nikki and Paolo, I think, originally because they wanted fans who felt like, why do we always see random extras milling around in the back? When are those people ever going to join our guy?
That was really cool how they were cutting back to like the beginning when the crash first went down. And
right.
Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen? Like that guy running around getting the pen for Jack so he could, pop the hole in her throat. And it was like cool seeing that part. Like, all right, so now we're actually getting to see the people in the background
from another perspective, right? Which I always feel like this show does a great job of sort of flipping that script on you. When you 100%. Think you understand a moment, giving you another side of it is kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
Charlie, sweetie, we're on. You got to go somewhere else, Bubba. Sorry. This is what you get. It's live.
It's live.
Bueller says thank you, by the way, for the gift, the book that you guys signed for him.
Oh, heck yeah, man. That was awesome. Freaking, I couldn't meet up with Steve Whiting at MegaCon, so I was able to meet him at my local comic shop, so.
Awesome. So yeah, for me, I gave that episode a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I think it's hated, but I think it deserves a little more love. Now, this group of episodes that we're talking about, you get some really great Others flashback episodes. Specifically, we get the Ben flashback episode of all Ben flashbacks episodes, which is a phenomenal one. But I wanted to go to the Juliet episode called Date of Conception. That's not the one. Where is it? Sorry. One of Us. Sorry, my bad.
Was that when she was being initiated before she
Yeah.
Okay.
The process of her joining the Others.
Man,
right?
She has love for her sister.
Oh my God.
I feel like she has a deep love for her sister, and she has a deep love for, like, her only sole purpose in life is to do something fulfilling.
Absolutely.
And they kind of, and I like the writing, but I kind of hate how watching it as a fan, the manipulation, and like, I get so angry because I'm like, you're taking advantage of this woman who's like a real doctor, like really doing things in this world for your own benefit on the island.
Yeah, and I love like that knowing certain elements and the manipulation, but then also, I mean, for me, it really made me care about Juliet as a character. I liked that character. The moment she goes into Jack's cell and plays the video for him where she's saying we can kill Ben and she's holding up all the. I was like, oh, this girl is it. I dig this girl. You're not gonna mess with her. And then later she blows that guy away so coldly. Like, yes, this is a cool character. And then I think this is the episode that sort of grounds her and gives her a heart. And I thought that was a real beautiful kind of setup. And seeing somebody for the first time in a lot of ways coming to the island the way you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really kind of creepy. And then, of course, at the same time, we're seeing that mirrored with her being ousted from the others, right? She's being rejected and sort of going off to go join our guys.
Yeah.
So I skipped over the cake episode that precedes it, mostly because I think it's really like a filler episode. I enjoy it. I do love the bit when Juliet is handcuffed to Kate. I don't know if you liked that sequence at all.
What, when they were running from the smoke?
Oh my god!
Oh my god! And they ran into the tree, and oh man, like I thought that was kind of really cool. I was like, for a split second, I was like, oh man, this would be great for like a makeout scene, like, oh man, please.
Well, you also get them falling in the mud. You get the mud wrestling moment. But for me, I like all that was great, and then right up to the moment when she's trying to get Kate. Again, for me, I'm a big Juliet fan. She's trying to get Kate like over to those sort of sonic fence pieces, right? Kate won't listen to her. And then finally she's like, you know what, screw this. I can't pretend anymore. I have the key to the handcuffs. I can get us out of these now.
Oh, yeah.
Then she runs over to set the fence and screams at Kate, like, get on this side. Get behind me. And then her face watching the smoke monster hit that fence is just such a badass move. She's such a boss, right?
I couldn't even contemplate if I were to see that in real life. Like that is insane. Just the fact that they have that giant fence there and that being able to stop that's incredible.
Yeah. And she faces it down like she's not scared. She's not looking at it even like a doctor or a scientist with curiosity. She's looking at it with pure like loathing of like, you can't beat me. Like I know you. I got you. You can't. Whatever you've got, I've got.
I'm just going through the motions at this point.
Yeah.
Like I got this.
So badass. And again, these are the moments for me that sold me on Juliet. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of the others, and they like it when the show sticks with the main original cast, and I can totally respect that. But for me, Juliet has always been one of my favorites. And these two episodes back to back kind of do it for me.
What really made me like Juliet was when she was having second thoughts about going and leaving after she had farewelled her sister. And she was expressing those second thoughts, and she wasn't sure if she wants to go because they gave her the orange juice with the horse tranquilizer. And he starts talking to her like, hey, it's not too late. You could back out. And then she starts thinking about it, and she's like, no. And she just downs that drink. I'm like, all right, this is the type of girl that she's like, you know what? I'm going big or I'm going home. And she went big. She's just chugged it down. Let's go.
For sure. And then I think he even said like, oh, you're just supposed to take about a
yeah, he's like, I don't think you're supposed to drink it that fast. And she just instantly out cold.
Yeah, I fully agree with that one. So then now after those two episodes, we have, the balance of power shifting a little bit with our main characters all together again, kind of on one side of the island. And then Locke is now with the others on the other side. But you get like the next few episodes for me all build towards the finale. Like it feels like very early at this point, we are setting up the ending. And that starts here with the next one, this Desmond episode. Desmond's getting his flashbacks. Like, I freaking love Desmond. I'm wearing my Desmond is my constant shirt.
See another life.
Desmond is so cool. And then the whole idea that up to now he's been having the effects of that explosion from the end of the second season.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about Desmond as a character?
Now, I don't understand how he got these like powers from the explosion. I don't understand it. I think it's really cool. I think it fits perfectly. I don't get it. But I love it at the same time. Yeah, like I'm trying to like analyze how this could happen. I'm like, there's no way that this happened. But the fact that he's able to be almost like a prophet, and foresee everything that's gonna happen in like the jigsaw puzzle kind of way and piece
Oh,
everything together.
your other triple threat brother. You guys are super loyal. Jabroni's in the chat. Hello.
There's your brony. He's probably watching, flexing his muscles.
For me, I feel like the Desmond thing only works because I feel like whatever crazy radiation that like he got hit with when that hatch went up clearly unstuck him in some ways, just lightly. And then, of course, later in next season, when he flies in the helicopter off the island, he gets really unstuck. Whatever got started inside of him gets triggered to another level. You know what I mean? Like, see, here in this season, he's doing a little bit of like, okay, I can like kind of catch glimpses of things. And then all of a sudden, you know, in the middle of next season, his whole consciousness starts jumping in time to other places in his own life. So it feels to me like a slow burn. Like this is part one of what eventually will be The Constant, which is my all-time favorite episode of the show. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. You know, yeah, no, I overall I like him as a character, like his backstory, how they found him, the role he plays in the show, and everything. I really like it.
Rod says, "I'm the fourth member of the CTT. I will happily take that honor. Mostly because I just crash you guys' show whenever I can." So yeah, Desmond and his time travel thing. He starts catching glimpses of things that it looks like he's trying to protect Claire. I love the little catch line at the end of this episode when he says, "No, Charlie, I'm trying to save your life. And no matter what I do, you're going to die. I can't." They're setting it up. Now, here we are, episode 17 of 20 something. And they're already telling us that this character is going to die.
That's what The Wire. When they go camping, Desmond, Charlie.
This is before The Wire. They haven't found. Oh, is it? Let's see. He gets the vision. Yeah. So now they're on their way to the. Yeah. So you're right. He says that line to her. He says that line even earlier in the season. Yeah. And this is when the second part then of that where it pays
Desmond's
off.
Trying to like, hey, let's go camping, guys. But really, he's seen Hurley with The Wire, and then he's seen the picture of him and Penny, and he's trying to piece everything together. So he's like, all right, let's get these guys. You know, you got to bring Charlie because he's about to die. And then right as they're going up and Charlie steps on that wire, duck. You know, and it's like you knew the whole time. You know, it's like he's saving him.
Yeah, he keeps saving him, even though they've been telling us he's dead. He's dead meat. I love and this episode has that line when Hurley says, "This is future crap, isn't it?"
Really bad.
Hurley can always distill everything down to this great little soundbite, right? Oh, yeah. He's talking to him, and he's like, "Wait, this is future crap, isn't it?"
Like he's trying to like piece everything together, and like that's the only logic that can click in his head. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. This also has probably my favorite Kate Sawyer moment when they're fooling around and then she's leaving and he's trying to get her to come back and he says, "What do you need me to do? Make you a mixtape?"
Yeah, I love that. It was awesome.
It's just so perfect. It's so perfect for the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
I just like, and then I love the chemistry. It's just right on for me. Now my least favorite. I don't know if you have a least or favorite character on the show. Actually, let's give it a shot. Who are your favorite characters on the show, and then maybe some of your least favorites?
Well, my favorite characters definitely is gonna be Sawyer, Locke, Hurley. My least favorite character, I want to say Kate, but it's like sometimes I really, really like her, and then other times I'm just like, no, you know, like that whole
She runs hot and cold for sure.
Yeah, like it's like sometimes I'm like, you don't need to be here, go away, you know, like or like be quiet, you know, like. But I mean, I kind of like. I was so invested the first time I watched the show. I have like a love and appreciation and understanding for everyone.
Yeah. Well, for me, like my least favorite has always been Sun and Jin. And
yeah,
I mean, I appreciate what they were trying to do with those characters. I just felt routinely like their episodes were some of my all-time least favorite episodes. Whether it was just constantly repeating the fact that Sun was spoiled and that Jin was coming from a poor background and not
Sun's badass.
They become really interesting. I just felt like their flashback episodes were routinely duller than anything. Like just
the flashback where she goes back to his mother and gives her that I think it's like a bag of money, and she's like,
That's this one.
"That's this one, right?" And
Yes.
she literally looks at the mother and says, "What did she say? I don't want to butcher it. You don't know who my family. Don't you know who my family is? Well, I have a very powerful family."
Yeah.
And then she's like, you're dead. I'll kill you. I will have you
if
murdered.
you show up
Go
again,
away. You
yeah.
know?
This is it. I'm never gonna see or deal with you again. This is the last moment.
And then as soon as she says that, she doesn't even take another breath. She instantly turns around and walks away like a straight boss. Just
Absolutely.
like, I have all this power. You need to be quiet. You need to leave.
Yeah.
You
The
know?
grown-ups are talking now.
Yeah. Go back to the kids' room. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciated that little moment. And again, I would probably give all of these episodes from this particular run about a 4 out of 5. So I didn't hate it, but I struggle through their episodes usually. And this one had the medical station, which was kind of interesting. And you get a little bit of Naomi trying to save Naomi. You get the cool Mikhail, the crazy
Naomi,
one-eyed Russian.
You know, this is where Bendis got Naomi from.
Yeah. Yeah, first appearance of Naomi.
Yeah.
And then, but my favorite is the moment when Hurley wants to get the flare gun. He's like, "Oh, we'll call for help," and he fires off the flare. And they're like, "Dude, who's gonna come now?"
Yeah.
And it's Mikhail who comes out of the jungle with it. Like he's gonna come, he's the one that's gonna come rescue them. And the back and forth with Mikhail is pretty cool, like pretty funny.
Yeah.
Where he's like, they're beating him up, and then he's helping save Naomi. I like that back and forth stuff.
We got Rod. I need to watch this from season 1. Rod, where you been at? You need to get Netflix.
It's on Hulu.
You need to get Hulu. Yeah, it's on
right
Hulu.
now it's on Hulu. So
Yeah.
for those that are thinking about watching, I know I've been talking to a bunch of people on Instagram who when I'm posting on my story, whatever I'm watching, they're like, "Oh, I got to catch up. I got to watch." Definitely jump in over on Hulu. You can catch it. It's all playing there. So if you have a Hulu account.
Lost is hands down one of the greatest TV shows that I think everyone, even if you don't like the show, you need to watch it. If you're not into this thing, you still need to watch it. It's incredible. It's incredibly crafted to the point where like it makes you think while you're watching the show, and it's like you should definitely watch it with a buddy if you can, or a spouse or significant other,
Or a
you're
YouTube
going to be
channel.
talking about it. Or a YouTube channel.
Watch it with a YouTube channel.
It is so good, even though it lost me on season 6.
Well, I would say that like any show that lasts this many episodes, I won't say this many seasons, because the truth is it's not fair to compare Lost to like a Game of Thrones, which does 6 episodes in a season, when Lost is doing sometimes 26 hours of television in a season. Not really fair to compare those two. I know that Game of Thrones and Lost get compared a lot. And I just think that's unfair, both by the amount of money they spent, the amount of hours of TV they made, the having to deal with commercials and network television versus HBO.
You can't compare that.
It's just not fair.
Yeah.
And I even though I like both shows, I don't think it's fair to either one of them. In Lost's case, I do agree. Perry nailed it. It's a show that's really expertly crafted, and there's a lot of great setup, despite some people saying like, "Oh, they didn't answer all the questions," or things were left unfinished, or they didn't love the ending. I would argue that if you really watch it, like binge watch it, you can find a lot of connectivity. Way more than most shows.
I would also argue, name me a show that lasted 6 seasons that doesn't have loose ends that haven't been tied.
This is very true.
It doesn't happen. Game of Thrones. There's questions. People have questions about Game of Thrones. Supernatural is just on season 15, and people still have questions about season 4 or 5. It's just that's how it is.
Absolutely,
they don't have the time to do it.
Yeah, and I think it definitely is a show that rewards your focus and attention. Like you're saying, watch with a buddy, watch with a group, and that's what I was doing when it was really on the air for the first time. I had a group of people we would watch with and discuss with.
Party.
I had a friend that made Dharma beer. Like she made logos on beer cans, and yeah, it was hysterical. We were really into it. I had a blog, and yeah, it was insane. So the next few episodes that are in a row here, in my opinion, so you have The Brig, which is a great Locke episode. You've got The Man Behind the Curtain, which is our first real Big Ben episode. You got greatest hits, which is Charlie's last episode, and then you have the finale. This run of episodes might be the greatest set of episodes Lost ever put together. How do you feel about these?
I think it's I definitely agree. I think the setup until the season finale, the last probably 6 or 7 episodes were pretty amazing. But this, I think it was the Briggs with Locke and Ben going to that house, and then
No, the brig is Locke bringing Sawyer to kill his dad.
oh, okay, yeah, no, that
Which
was freaking.
is one of my
That's
freaking
mind blowing.
all-time favorites.
Oh my god, when he opened that for the first time, when he opened that the box and he seen his dad there, he was just like, "What?" Because he was telling him, "I have a box that you could open it, and it's what is it? What you truly desire
Whatever
in the world."
yeah.
Yeah,
Anything you wished for, it would be in the box.
yeah, that's insane. I hope you wish for another submarine. You know.
Yeah, I hope that box big enough to wish you up another submarine. So for me, The Brig is one of my all-time favorite episodes because, again, it focuses on Locke and Sawyer, two of our favorite characters, and this connective tissue, right? Locke's dad is also the one that ruined Sawyer's life. That great connection. And then Sawyer being the one who can finally give a little respite to Locke.
Yeah. And it was cool because before this happened, they had multiple times where they had the flashbacks to his dad, and it was kind of like you seen the dad who killed his stepson, and then who paralyzed Locke, and it's like, wow, this huge injustice, and this guy the police can't even find him, and now he's on this island, and there'll never be any justice served, and to have him pop up in that box is like, let's bring down the hammer right now.
Yeah.
You know, like. You're going to get what you had coming to you.
Absolutely. Oh, we got Mark Spector Comics is in here. Thanks for coming by, brother. He says, I watched the whole season. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So we're talking about the episode The Brig. One of my all-time favorites is, it sounds like, Perry, it's one of your faves as well. It's one of those that has the entire flashbacks are on the island, which is always something I've always really loved when Lost would do this. Mm-hmm. They would have no flashbacks that take you off of the island. Instead, it's all just things that we might have missed in the last, whatever chunk of time. In this case, we're seeing Locke and how he got to the place where he's putting Sawyer in a really dangerous position. We get this sort of issues that have come up with Ben and his power and how Locke is in some ways threatening it. And one of my favorite others, Richard Alpert, this mysterious unaging character who is seemingly trying to help set up Locke to replace Ben.
Is it me or does he just wear makeup?
He definitely does. In fact,
because I always look at it like that's not natural, right?
No, the show used to make jokes about how he originally was called the eyeliner bad guy. Like the eyelashes and the eyeliner was intense.
I was like, why didn't they make him the rock star? Like he could have pulled that off.
Spot on. Absolutely. Oh, man. Let's see. Time to go. Okay, good night, Rod. Rod's hitting the sack. Thanks for coming, Rod.
Now, real quick. He is unaging, and he's an other on the island, but he was also the one who left the island to go to Miami and recruited
Juliet.
So yes. That's kind of interesting because you would think an other who's like a natural inhabitant of this island who, number one, doesn't age, how could he leave,
Yeah, well, and I believe it's late in season 6 even, I think we finally get our first Richard Alpert flashback.
Oh, I only watched the first episode of season 6.
Oh, I loved season 6, if only because they dropped a lot of huge pieces of information, including giving us how is it that this guy doesn't age? Where did he come to the island from? And what is it that gives him his power? Because he seems to have magical power. But the truth is what he has is a connection to the island, like you're saying. And they explain it in a really powerful episode. I included it in my top 5 Lost episodes of all time. It was the episode is called Ab Eterno, which I believe is like Latin. And it means eternal life or forever ever living or something like that.
So if if he just to like go into Nerdsville for a second,
Good.
if he's connected to the island and that's what gives him his like sort of power or ability of non-aging, wouldn't leaving the island kind of like cancel that? Because like Superman gets his powers from the yellow sun. If you take the yellow sun away, there's no Superman, right?
Great
That's
comparison. I
like the
love
way
this.
I see it.
No,
You
it's
know?
great. And I think the way they explain it, and I don't know how much of the seasons later that you remember, there's these two characters, Jacob and then the Man in Black, are
Yeah,
these
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
I love Jacob.
interesting characters. And it seems that Jacob has given him this as his gift, and that there's no strings in a sense. He can venture off of the island and not lose his power. His power is more connected to Jacob than anything else.
Okay, and Jacob could definitely leave the island.
And yeah, Jacob
'Cause I
definitely.
remember
And
seeing
in
him.
later seasons, we see to what extent he has done that in the past.
Yeah, to a pretty big extent.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of debates with friends about this connection, and maybe we'll get into that in later season discussions. But
Oh yeah,
it's hard to know, and I've been writing these notes down. It's hard to know when we see spirits on the island or off the island, when is it the Man in Black and when is it Jacob? Because both of them seem to have the ability to look like people you've loved or lost.
wow.
So all through the show, when we see, Echo's brother, or when we see Jack's dad, it's one of these two characters. It's either the Man in Black or it's Jacob, and it's hard to know which. It's not usually the actual person themselves in spirit form or what have you. Usually it is one of the two of them sort of inhabiting that person's spirit.
Now, not to get too off track, because I literally only watched up until season 3, but I have watched the rest of the show except for the rest of season 6. In the past, Jacob and the Smoke Man,
The Man in Black, yeah.
yeah. Are they like representations of good and evil?
Absolutely. I think the show always wanted to have this sort of, even in that, what is it, the first episode, even the pilot somewhere, where Locke sits down with Walt to play backgammon.
Yeah.
He said there's always two sides, one light and one dark. I think even then they were sort of setting up the idea of the man in the white hat and the man in the black hat, the Western
Planting
tropes.
seeds early on, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know that it's as simple as hero villain, but I think in story terms you could look at it as antagonist and protagonist.
Okay.
I think that by the end of the show, by the end of season 6 especially, you get a real glimpse as to who the Man in Black is and what his motivation is, and it's hard to hate him outright.
Oh wow.
And at the same time, you see Jacob unveiled, and you start to feel like he really screwed up a lot of things. It's not as simple as like good guy, bad guy. It's flawed people in short. And I think in some ways you can sympathize with both of them, even if you strongly feel that obviously like the Man in Black is the villain.
Well, definitely looking forward to season 6 now.
Yeah, it's a shorter season, and I think it builds to some really cool reveals. And that whole flash sideways is what they ended up calling it, because we've had flash forwards, we've had flashbacks, and season 6 is the flash sideways, which is sort of like that alternate future, alternate dimension kind of stuff, which was really interesting, but also kind of frustrating at the same time. We were like, no, I just want to know what's going to happen on the island.
Yeah.
So the brig ends kind of the way it begins, which I absolutely freaking love. It sort of begins with Ben saying, you know what, John, you're not the one that has any power on this island. He wasn't the one we were waiting for. If you don't show up carrying your dad's dead body on your back, then don't bother. And then, of course, the episode ends with him carrying his dad's dead body on his back. It's such a power move, right? That moment when you're just like, dude, he planned this sucker well.
Oh yeah.
And there he is hoisting the body on his back like, I got you, Ben.
I got you right
you.
here. Yep.
And then the next episode is that Ben flashback where Locke shows up, drops the body at his feet, and says, what's the line? You said you'd tell me everything I wanted to know about the island. Why don't you start at the beginning? It's such a pimp move.
Oh yeah. And I love how John is so obsessed with this island and he feels the connection and he understands that there's so much more that he could probably even comprehend that's going on here. And this is where like his sole purpose in life is meant to be.
Definitely.
And he doesn't second guess it at all.
No, he's in 100%. He just wants to understand it,
Yep.
right? To be closer connected to it. He's in a funny way, as the man of faith that they always present him, he actually has very little because he can't just take it on faith. He does want to understand it. He can't just accept it that he's gotten this gift.
Yep.
And that's always
And
his
that
downfall.
that actually hits a nail on the head because when he's going into that house and all the whole shenanigans are going on, and when he comes out, he's like, I still don't believe you.
Yeah, he still can't question it. He still thinks it might be a sham or a trick, which is a big part of this episode, right? We get the cabin for the first time. We get what we might be Jacob, and I wrote down several questions about: is this Jacob in the cabin?
That's what confused me because you see, there's definitely someone like on the outside. They show like a shadowy figure, which I thought was just another, and I thought they were there to like spook him into thinking because he looks a little bit crazy talking to that chair. Like he looks like a psychopath. Like, all right, like John's looking at him like, oh my god, this guy's off his rocker, and then you hear as he's exiting the cabin, help me, and it's like, was that the other from outside? Was that Ben impersonating a voice, or is this Jacob's first appearance, like to Locke?
And there's some hinting and discussing of this, like through this final season as well, where they talk about that sort of a scattered ash around the cabin that possibly at some point Jacob was trapped in the cabin by the ash, that the man in black had trapped him there.
Oh, that's so cool.
And that later he may have gotten out, and that the man in black moved in there and was pretending to be Jacob for certain members of the others. There's a lot of, they don't specifically give you the answers. And this is kind of what I was raising earlier, this idea that it's hard to know when are you talking to the man in black and when are you talking to Jacob, and when are our characters talking to one or the other. Because there are definitely times when the spirits are very malevolent. And then there's times when those spirits are very benevolent and trying to be very helpful. And so I get the feeling that both of those characters are playing their own long cons and trying to manipulate our characters in different ways.
Man, if you had to sum up Lost in one word, manipulation.
Absolutely. Great
from
word.
beginning to the end, that is Lost. Lost is manipulation. From almost every character. I want to say everyone except for Hurley. I feel like he's probably like the most genuine, like, let's coexist, let's help each other out, let's have a good time, let's make the best of this crappy situation we're in.
Yeah, and I like Hurley's evolution because there definitely in the later seasons are moments when you can see Hurley trying to do some manipulation, and that he's learned a little bit about how to play the Game of Thrones, if you will. He's learned,
surrounded by it.
Yeah, because he's been so naive, it's a wonder he survived long enough. But he certainly did learn a little something. This episode has a lot of like the Dharma Initiative and how they got started, and Ben and his ultimate goals, and of course we have the Dharma slaughtering, right? You get Ben. No, go ahead.
Oh no. So like, yeah, they leave the cabin and he's taking a different path back, and he's like, I want to show you something, and then that's when it flashes back to back when he was younger, in probably like the 70s, because they had that Volkswagen mobile. So I'm
the Hurley van.
Yeah, in that time frame in the 70s where he actually murders his father, and we see the natural inhabitants of this land actually commit genocide on the Dharma Initiative. And when I was watching that for the second time, to me it felt like the writers were portraying our society as humans, even on a small little island with a few people. There's two different groups that can't coexist, and then genocide happens, and it happens in every single country. It happens throughout the history of time. This is in our DNA.
Yeah, it's that very Lord of the Flies idea,
Yeah,
right? That humans naturally they both crave company, but also they're very divisive.
yeah, 100%. So then
Um,
seeing that and seeing him killing his father with the gas and putting the mask on, and what a brutal way to die, and then going back to the Dharma camp and seeing all, like, dude, these are the people you grew up with, and they're all just lying there dead on the floor. It's kind of insane to see that, like it really is crazy.
oh, absolutely, yeah. And I wanted to shout out Mr. Miracle Comics was coming by to say hi, and Mark Spector said he's crashing to as well, heading to bed. We're almost done. We're gonna wrap up here just a little bit. Yeah, I agree. This sort of slaughtering of the Dharma Initiative, and then Ben betraying Locke. It's very much. It seems to present Ben, a character I really like, as really needing to control power just to have, not to have the power, but to have a sense of normalcy, because his life has been so chaotic even as a child.
Yep.
The having power and respect from people is the only thing that makes him feel good.
I 100% agree. I feel like John Locke is the only person that he just can't get his his little weasel fingers into his mind and control him. And I feel like it drives him crazy, and I feel like
Totally.
bringing him to that cabin was the breaking point for him. And he's like, you know what, if this doesn't work,
Yeah.
let's
He's like, if
finish
this
him.
won't win him to my side, I got to be
Nothing else
ready to
will.
do something. Yeah, exactly.
And he shot him, and I was like, oh my god. And I kind of feel like, I'm thinking about it, you don't really see that much of John, and they kind of give you the idea, is John dead?
Yeah,
But
and much like
they don't touch back on it for a while, and it's like, wow, like, what's going on?
and much like Game of Thrones, like if you don't see somebody actually get killed or decapitated or something, they're gonna probably come back. But yeah, in this moment, and they leave it there because this is episode 20, and then we don't see him in 21, and we don't see him till almost the end of 22.
Yep. And it's funny because I remember watching this, and I think I was watching with my girlfriend at the time, and we were watching, and she's like, "Do you think he's dead?" And I was like, "You know what? Knowing John Locke, even if someone's like, you can't get out of this hole, you're gonna die, I feel like he's gonna look back and say, 'Don't tell me what I can't do,' like, and
You
he's
push
just
him
gonna
out of a
come back."
window, this guy doesn't die.
And there was no way he was gonna go out like that. But I like how they presented that. Look, we're gonna kill off this guy, but not really.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the next one is you get Charlie. He's recounting the greatest moments of his life, his greatest hits. So he gets his little top five, and then at the same time, he's coming to terms with the fact that I'm going to be dying. Could I at least die on my own terms? And it seems to be presented by Desmond that we need somebody to go down and flip a switch, and if it happens, there's a helicopter that will come, and people are going to get rescued.
Oh yeah, the Looking Glass, I believe.
Yes. So we get
Great great name for the thing. And you're going down, and you see the Dharma Initiative with that the little rabbit
yes,
logo, and I was like, that was awesome. I like that. Like
yes,
they did a good job with that.
absolutely. So you get him going down. He makes the decision to go down here and solve this problem. And it's all building towards an episode that I remember at the time everyone's like, "Oh, Charlie's going to die in this episode." It's his flashback. They're going to kill him. It's going to be amazing. And for me, the best part about it was the reveal at the end that he comes up and the hatch is not flooded. It's got air. And he's like, "I'm alive. I'm not going to die."
Oh yeah.
And it's this great moment. And it only sets up the drama for the finale, of course, where that is now. When is it going to happen?
That finale, that whole thing with him. First off, I kind of feel bad. Like, man, like they're making crazy amounts of money off this guy's death, and he's not even dead, and he doesn't get any of the glory and anything. And I feel like he's probably the most self-centered person because he's a rock star. He's famous. He's a massive drug addict. He'll do anything for his drugs.
Yeah.
And to see he didn't have to die. Like rewatching that last episode, he could have ran out and swam back up, but instead he was like, you know what? Let me do this because I need to 100% make sure that he can survive and get this message back
Yeah.
and let people know what's going down. And
He didn't
gave
want
the ultimate
Desmond to go with
sacrifice.
him, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he sacrifices himself specifically for Desmond in that classic not Penny's boat moment.
Oh man, that was amazing when he terminated the signal and he was like, yes, and he turned around and then he seen that incoming call. He's like, incoming call? Bloody hell. You know, and he clicks on the button and she comes out and he's like talking to her and he's like, oh my God, everything starts clicking again in his mind. And I feel like he was the hero in season 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the rest of this episode, the finale, centers around a trap where our characters are finally going to bait the others and try to kill a bunch of them. And Jack is going to try to lead most of our characters off to where the radio tower is so that they can try to get a signal out to Naomi's freighter. And they've got Ben captive because Ben decided, well, the only thing I can do is try to like be a man of, I don't know, I don't want to say peace, but certainly manipulation was the word you used, to show up with the walkie-talkie and manipulate our characters with threat. And so the trap kind of works. We kill a bunch of the others, our characters, but our characters all get caught, and then Ben uses them as bait.
That one guy couldn't make it, man. He was shooting that pistol and it wasn't working.
Who do you think
learn to aim. You gotta aim.
It was Jin. It was some Jin.
I know your least favorite guy.
So yeah, but Bernard, old husband guy, pulls it off. I'm just gonna say, score 1 for old guys.
Well, you would think Jin works for like his wife's father, and he's like a hitman almost. You know, like so he should be able to like pew pew pew. You know,
he
no
doesn't
problem.
use guns. He just uses his feet and his fists.
That's true. You should have punched the
beats the crap out of people.
You should have punched the dynamite.
Right. I do love the fact that we think that it's possible that the others are going to shoot our characters, but of course they don't. But then when we flip the script on We Get There Guys, we completely cap these guys. We don't even take them hostage. We don't even hold them on the radio. We're just like, no. Sawyer's like, I'm going to shoot this guy.
You got Hurley coming in the freaking
the van.
The Volkswagen van, running the guy over. Then you got freaking, oh man, what's his name? Saeed.
Saeed.
Sawyer goes to shoot the guy, and Saeed, without hesitation, does some crazy military stuff and snaps his neck. And then Sawyer turns around and is like, "That's for taking the kid off the boat." And then drops him in his chest, and he's like, "He surrendered." He's like, "No, I didn't trust him."
That's badass. I love everything about that rescue sequence. That Hurley leads the the element of surprise in the van. That Saeed kills somebody with his arms tied behind his back. He just uses his freaking feet, right? Like you're saying. Yeah, and then that line. Yeah, Sawyer, who you could see him remembering the boat and being shot by this guy.
I love how they bring it back around.
He's like, no.
This is what you get.
Yeah, that's for taking the kid. Yeah, I totally, the line is amazing. And the look on was it Hurley's face when he's like, dude, you just freaking shot that guy.
Bro, shut up. You ran another guy over. Like,
right?
Who are you to talk? Which I think was really cool because Hurley seems kind of like not an aggressive person. So to see him, because he was driving towards them and they turned around, they started shooting at him. And it was cool how they flipped the camera angle to see his foot and he just doubled down on that gas.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going in.
He went for it 100%.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was so cool.
There's a line. So Juliet comes with Sawyer to try to rescue our guys, right? And at one point they're walking and he talks to her all about how, originally when he tried to escape when they held him captive, Juliet is the one that put the gun on Kate to make sure that they couldn't run away, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's like, and he starts talking to her, and then he's like, "What did you even have us building in the first place?" And she said, "It's a runway for the aliens." And I was like, that line is so good because the show is like, if they brought down aliens on the runway,
Yeah,
you'd be like, yeah,
it's like whoa, we got aliens coming now.
like,
You know?
there's a moment where you're like, that I could buy that, right? And
Yeah.
even Hurley has a moment. He's like, really? And she's like, no, it's a runway for an airplane.
But you know that's the beauty of the show because it's like they could throw something wacky like that into the show, and I feel like they could form a way to make it work.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what makes a beautiful show. Like they could throw something insane, like freaking aliens coming down the planet Earth, and it's like, let's roll with these punches. You know,
Let's see what this rabbit hole takes me to, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing we didn't really talk about, I mean, we have Naomi and the knife and the phone call that finally works and Jack being like so happy, but the only thing we really didn't talk about was
Mother-daughter.
flash forward. Oh, did we skip something else? Sorry.
Mother-daughter meeting for the first time.
Oh, Alex and Rousseau. Yeah.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
daughter. I have a daughter. You know, like seeing that and seeing her, Alex start to get up and look, and then the camera keeps cutting back and forth to both their faces, and it's like, oh my god, they kind of look alike. You know, like, and it's like, wow, like that's insane. Like she's been on this island for what, 14 years? She had that, or 16 years. She had the distress call out, and this entire time, I feel like maybe now she's regretting not going out and maybe not going and looking for her daughter or
trying
realizing
harder. Because I know you're
trying
trying.
something. You know, she was kind of just surviving, like not trying to die.
Right.
So
And I love how, like,
throw
I
that
think
in.
her first line to her daughter is, help me tie him up. Like about Ben. Like, help me tie Ben up. Let's tie your dad up.
He deserves it. Yeah.
But the thing that I think I wanted to save to last was really this idea. The reveal for this episode, I can't tell you the shockwaves when I was watching this live among all the fans watching the show that this episode had. Because we're used to the same old thing. We've seen Jack as a drunk. We've seen him like struggling with his dad. We've seen all these things. So that it was the best long con that this is not old Jack, but this is future Jack. The flash, the whole idea of a flash forward. How did you feel when it was first happening? Could you have guessed it at all?
I feel like Ben messed with his mind. I feel like when Ben said, why do you want to leave this island? What, to go back to no dad? To go back to no woman who's already with another man? To go back to fixing things at the hospital? Is that what you really want to do? And then you get this flash forward. This guy is a mess. He's back in society. His beard's growing out. You see his whole house is a mess. Maps everywhere and stuff. And it's like he's completely lost it.
He's even on that bridge to kill himself. At the very beginning, he's there, drunk, driving without a seatbelt, standing on the edge of this bridge. He's ready.
I like how you noted without a seatbelt. You know,
he was legit. He was legit. Like, I don't care. And even makes a joke later. I don't know if it's in this episode or a later one where he says, like, I've been buying tickets on airplanes, just hoping.
Oh, that's when he's talking to Kate.
Yeah,
he says, you know that golden pass that they gave us. I've been going to Tokyo. I even went to Sydney. Even the slightest bit of turbulence that I get, I pray that they crash the plane. I don't care about anyone else on there. I want the plane to crash. And then you see her start to tear because it's like,
what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, like, are you insane? Did the island mess with you that much? Like, hello, we're back in society. Go to the liquor store. You know, like, suppress your emotions.
Right.
You know, like, we got air conditioning and a refrigerator. You know, right? Like.
Yeah, for me, like I tell you, I had no clue that this was coming when I originally was watching this episode. I had no idea. And when she gets out of the car and you see her face, I mean, I get goosebumps thinking about it. It is probably the greatest moment on the show's run. That you could pull the wool over our eyes so well and then drop that hammer so perfectly.
Well, you get the first 3 seasons. He's the hero. He's the strong guy. I make the tough decisions. I carry all the weight on my back. I could do this. I'm the man. I have this built in me. And then you get this last episode, and he's broken, completely shattered. and he's just weak. And it's like, wow, seeing that range of a character, that was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sets up what is another season of looking ahead into the future, and the idea that this show could go in so many different directions at this moment. It was much like the opening of the hatch and not knowing what was in there until the next season would come to you. This was a hatch on the island. The whole island was opening up now on us. It was a whole new world.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. For me, that's mostly it. I really do feel like this is some of the best episodes the show's ever done. And the next season was the shortened writers' strike season, so it only had like a 14-episode season.
Only 14 episodes. Still
for Lost.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true because they were pushing out like 20 plus.
I think there was a year where they did 26 hours of television, which is insane.
It is.
Because it was supposed to be a 20-episode season, and then they were so popular. I think it was the very first season. They were so popular that they got money to do an extra 6, and they went out and put in 6 more hours in that first season. So a 14-episode was a shorter deal. And I want to say it was 14 hours, but it was more like 12 episodes because I think they had a couple of 2-parters in there. I'm going to be doing that one this month. I've already watched all my episodes. I'm ready for the breakdown in July. It's possible I'll bring somebody back again to join me again. But if you would like to come on the show, if you're watching this on replay or you're in the chat and you want to come and talk about season 4.
I literally, because I've seen season 4 already. I've enjoyed rewatching season 3 so much. As soon as we're done with this, I'm playing season 4, episode 1, because I just want to watch it so bad.
Dude, I couldn't stop. And I went right through. I've already finished season 4, and I want to watch season 5 so bad, but I'm trying to wait until July to be on schedule a little.
Yeah, I've restrained myself from watching season 4 because I'm like, I'm gonna start talking about season 4. I can't do it. I need to just stop right now. You know.
Totally
so I'm happy after this. I did have a question.
Sure.
Now that Lost has passed for so many years and Netflix is getting into the business of rebooting shows and bringing shows back. And Netflix did host Lost for a long period of time, so they obviously have the analytics to show that this was a big show and it has a huge cult following already. And they were able to bring shows back like Full House that blew up again, or shows like Sabrina and completely change it, but still have that core fan base come in and blow up. Do you think they could bring back Lost with either the original characters or a complete reboot with the same idea?
I think it's definitely ripe for iterations. I don't think you. I think rebooting it completely and doing the same story with new actors or something would be a disaster because the whole point was not knowing what was coming, and I think knowing what was coming would be just disastrous. You also, when you finish season 6, you kind of see that a lot of these characters are dead. Like there's not a lot of them left. And you couldn't necessarily continue on with the same actors like you can with a Full House or something like that. You could definitely do phase 2, looking at the power struggle on the island with the next generation of characters that come there. And I think that there's a lot of setup for that possibility. But our characters and our actors would have a limited role in such a thing, which means it would keep the cost down. You could bring in a whole new set of unknown actors to sort of forge a new story in that environment.
Now, do you think, because I think this would be pretty cool, seeing the the embark of Dharma discovering the island and actually building everything and meeting the natives and trying to coexist with them and developing this fence, developing the looking glass and all these different operations. I think that could be a really cool show.
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of what I loved about season 5 was getting to see them building the hatch, discovering the sort of time travel wheel or wagon wheel in the rock or whatever.
But I think that would be kind of cool to see like a whole like a Dharma show. I really love Dharma and I just want more Dharma.
No, hey, I'm with you on that. And one of the first conversations that sort of cemented the friendship between Fire Guy Ryan and me was him throwing the question to me of, hey, what would you do if you could do a Lost comic book? What would you focus on? And I was like, oh, damn, brother. You just melded two parts of my brain together.
Oh, man. Lost comic book coming soon.
Well, and we both had very different feelings. So I'll let you think on it if you want to throw a suggestion. But the one that I said I wanted is the one I wanted when the show ran, which is I wanted to see the story of Michael and Walt. I wanted to understand Walt's power. I wanted to understand what the others did with Walt while he was with them. And I wanted to understand Walt's story after leaving the island and what went on with him. So for me, I would have done a comic centered around Michael and Walt as like an addendum to the show, just to fill in their story, because I do feel like they got short shrift on the show and deserved better.
That's actually really cool. That's like a really cool idea.
Well, he seemed like the shining kid, right? He has these shining like powers, and I think they never went far enough, in my opinion, with that and what it meant and where it could lead.
Yeah, no, that actually sounds pretty cool. Thinking if I had to come up with a comic idea for Lost, it would probably be with Jacob and
the Man in Black.
Man. Yeah, the Man in Black. Kind of a prequel, like how the slave ship got there, seeing them like progress.
I will tell you, you got to watch the rest of season 6.
No,
brother.
no, I remember seeing that, but like having like a prequel of showing everything happening leading up into when we first meet our cast.
Yeah, I mean, because some of those episodes go back thousands of years with the Man in Black, and you can look at. There's a huge. We get a chunk of time in that sort of, like you're saying, 70s, 80s. We get a chunk of time in the 2000s, but there's a lot of history there that we don't get on the island, and it's definitely ripe for generation. Yeah, absolutely.
When I first seen them, like early on, when they seen the slave ship, I kind of got the feel of like these are like a Cain and Abel sort of
absolutely
type of characters, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if did you ever see the Man in Black story flashback?
That was season 6.
Yeah, it must have been. You know, I think it must be the second to last episode. Now that I think about it,
pull out the DVD. It's actually in this one.
you need to watch that one because your Cain and Abel guess is like spot on.
Oh wow!
Like super duper close to accurate. So thanks everybody for coming and watching. I know we only had a handful of people in the chat, but I know that there are some folks that catch these on the rewind, and I really appreciate you watching. Feel free to drop a comment if there's a Lost comic book that you would want to see, or if you have a favorite character you want us to shout out. If you'd like to join on season 4, you can definitely check me out on Instagram and let me know. Season 5, I'm going to have to try to do in 2 chunks. I don't know if I can do that in one single month, but I'm happy to hear from you guys if you want to join at some point. Perry is a member of the Comic Triple Threat, but he has a great channel, and I've linked it below.
Oh, thank you.
He just dropped a video today with the word boobies in the title twice. You gotta watch Boobies, Batman Boobies.
I figured boobies, there's 2 of them. It's like, gotta put 2 of them in the title, you know?
And Batman right in the middle.
Yeah, you know?
Motorboat right in the middle. It's a great video. It's very funny. You got some great little reviews and looks ahead at the books coming out. Is it next week, right? And
Yep.
So definitely check out Perry's channel. He's the man in the blazer, and I appreciate you coming by for doing this, man.
Heck yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right. So thanks, everybody. And until July somewhere, sorry, I'll see you in July for season 4.